Welcome back to the podcast. Mine yours. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have missed you. It's been a minute. We took a little break, and then when we tried to get back on track, things got extremely busy on our end, work-wise, our office, our clientele, and we just couldn't find a way to get back on in a way where it would be fruitful to our listeners and viewers. And so thank you for your patience. We are excited to be back on, and today is Monday, which means it's Mindfulness Monday, and let's get right to it.
Welcome to the podcast where mental health is at the core of what we focus on. We strive to develop people like you to maximize who you are and what you've been called to do by sharing tools and resources for better brain health. And now here's your host, Juan Garcia.
So Mindfulness Monday is all about specific topics that help us for the rest of the week. And so today I want to talk about thoughts. In other words, thinking about what we think about. Our thoughts are supremely important for our daily lives. They affect everything that we do. We average about 80 to 90,000 thoughts a day. That is a lot of thinking. And if you don't have a healthy awareness or a mindset to deal with these thoughts, then it's really going to affect you in a negative way. It's going to have a negative impact on a day-to-day basis. One of my favorite speakers, he's a pastor, his name is Craig Groeschel. He says, and I quote, "Our lives will move in the direction of our strongest thoughts." Our lives will move in the direction of our strongest thoughts. And I love that quote because it is so on point. It is so true. We will ultimately do and be what we think about the most. And a lot of times, if you're honest, and I know we can be honest with each other, our thoughts are not the happiest, they're not the most positive. And so this is something that we really have to put some effort into making sure that our thoughts are in line, number one, with what we want to accomplish in our life, the outcome that we would like. And number two, that they are healthy, that they are realistic, and that they are driving us in a way that we can ultimately be happy and successful in what we want to do. And because we have so many thoughts, it's important to note that we don't necessarily have to entertain every thought. Just because you get a thought doesn't mean that you have to focus on it, that you have to give it some type of weight or even importance. In fact, thoughts are just ideas. They don't necessarily have to have any meaning until we give it meaning. In my private practice, we do something called cognitive behavioral therapy. And this type of therapy is so impactful, and it's so helpful to so many people dealing with so many different things, because it deals with our cognition, with our thoughts, the things that we constantly have to process and figure out whether or not we're having a healthy aspect of it. There are things called cognitive distortions, which mean basically we have irrational thoughts, things that cause us anxiety, cause us depression, because we're constantly thinking about it, but they're not necessarily rational. We also try to make sure that we help individuals identify what types of distortions they may be processing. Anything like magical thinking, things like catastrophizing, things like really making sure that, all or nothing type thinking. And these are all cognitive distortions. Another thing that we really try to help discover in terms of our thinking is the relationship between our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavior. And that's where CBT really comes in handy. Why? Because a lot of what we do that we don't necessarily want to do or like that we do it is tied to the fact that we give our thoughts an emotional label. Meaning, I get a thought that I'm not good enough. Let's just say as an example, right? So that thought, I'm not good enough, is probably being provoked by a project that I have to do, a conversation that I have to have, something at hand that is provoking me to think it's not going to work out because I'm not good enough. I fail at these things, right? So if we just think about that thought, now we add sadness, frustration, aggravation, anxiety, all of these things that are emotionally driven. Now that thought becomes entertained, and now we have to do something about this thought because we actually gave it meaning. Potentially this thought, if we actually apply this emotion and consider it and continually give it that meaning that we started, it's going to become true to us. Now, the dynamic between a thought process and the emotion we give it ultimately affects our behavior, meaning we either start getting a dry mouth, sweaty palms, and our hands will get all sweaty. We get fidgety, we get absent-minded, we get distracted. All of these things, irritable, based all on one thought. Now imagine 80 to 90,000 thoughts a day. How much of all of that are we processing and giving it some kind of emotion or feeling, and eventually we're ending up frustrated, aggravated, overwhelmed, and all of these things affect our progress throughout the day. So it is very important that we are mindful of our thoughts so that we realize just because we have a thought doesn't mean we have to entertain it. And also, if we do have a thought that is part of our decision making for the day, for the week, that's important to us, those we do have to make sure we entertain by giving it the right emotion so that it validates the importance of it and it validates it in a healthy way. So for example, if I'm thinking about a project that I have to do by the end of May or before the summer begins, then I have to make sure that I put in the emotion, whether it's excitement, whether it's the preparedness that I need to make sure that I get this job done. So I get kind of this awareness of self to do it right. I have to make sure that that emotion is validating that thought in a good way so that now I have goals, I have all of these things that I can start pinpointing and breaking down so that I can complete this project. And that's just a small example. Obviously, there are more serious examples that I would get into in a different episode. But for now, I just want us to be mindful of our thinking. Make sure that you think about what you think about, because remember, our lives will go in the direction of our strongest thoughts. Take care, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast. For more information, visit our website at juangarciaenterprises.com. Our host, Juan Garcia, is available for speaking, coaching, and one-on-one counseling. You can email us at info@juangarciaenterprises.com. Until next time, remember, we only have one mind, so mind yours.